my twin and and we all look good as fuck. She said she my eye, but I don't know her. Had to look her up. I know that I'm rich, but I can help it, bitch. I'm good as fuck.
Content warning. Some pictures are very graphic, including depictions of the couple's bodies after the ambush, which may be disturbing for some viewers, especially children. Bonnie and Clyde, the infamous outlaws who traveled the central United States during the Great Depression, committing a series of criminal acts such as bank robberies and murders between the year 1932 and 1934. Bonnie Elizabeth Parker was born October 1st, 1910 in Rowena, Texas, the second of 3 children. Her father, Charles Robert Parker, was a bricklayer and died when Bonnie was only 4 years old. Her widowed mother, Emma Parker, shortly moved her family back into her parents' home in West Dallas, where she worked as a seamstress. Parker was a bright child who thrived on attention. She enjoyed performing on stages and had dreams of becoming an actress. As a young adult, Bonnie wrote poems such as The Story of Suicide Sal and The Trail's End, the latter more commonly known as The Story of Bonnie and Clyde. In her second year of high school, Bonnie met Roy Thornton. The couple dropped out of school together and married on September 25, 1926. 6 days before her 16th birthday. Their marriage didn't last. With his frequent absence, encounter with law enforcement, it proved to be short-lived. They never divorced, but their paths never crossed again after the year 1929. When Bonnie was killed, she was still wearing the wedding ring Thornton had given her. Thornton was in prison when he heard about the death, commenting, I quote, "I'm glad they jumped out like they did. It's much easier than being caught," unquote. Sentenced to 5 years for robbery in 1933 and attempting several prison breaks from other facilities, Thornton was killed while trying to escape from Huntsville State Prison on October 3, 1937. Unlike her husband, Bonnie's first crime went unnoticed, which was helping Clyde escape from the McLennan County Jail in Waco, Texas on March 11, 1930. After only knowing him for a couple of months, she smuggled a gun into the jail for him. Clyde Chestnut Barrow was born 1909 on March 24th into a poor farming family in Ellis County, Texas. He was the 5th of 7 children. The family moved from Dallas in the early 1920s as part of a wider migration pattern from rural areas to the city, where many settled in the urban slums of West Dallas. The Barrows spent their first months in West Dallas living under a wagon until they got enough money to buy a tent. In his teen years, Clyde robbed grocery stores and gas stations. His favorite weapon was a M1918 Browning automatic rifle, aka BAR. According to John Neal Phillips, a Dallas-based author, Clyde's goal in life was not to gain fame or fortune from robbing banks, but to seek revenge against the Texas prison system for the abuse that he had obtained while serving time. Clyde was first arrested in late 1926 at the age of 17 after running when a police officer confronted him over a rental car that he had failed to return on time. Soon after came his second arrest with his brother Buck for possession of stolen turkeys. Clyde had a couple of legitimate jobs from 1927 through 1929, but he also cracked safes, robbed banks, and stole cars. Clyde met 19-year-old Bonnie through a mutual friend in January 1930, and they spent much time together during the following weeks. Their romance interrupted when Clyde was yet arrested again by Dallas County sheriffs and convicted of auto theft. He later escaped from the McLennan County Jail in Waco, Texas, on March 11, 1930, using a gun Bonnie had smuggled into the jail for him. His freedom was short-lived. By the next month, Clyde was sent to Huntsville State Prison. While in prison, he was sexually assaulted. He retaliated by attacking and killing the man with a pipe after crushing his skull. This was his first murder. Another inmate who was already serving a life sentence claimed responsibility. In September the same year, he was assigned to East Ham Prison Farm at the age of 21. To avoid hard labor in the fields, Clyde purposely had 2 of his toes amputated in January 1932, either by another inmate or by himself. Because of this, he walked with a limp for the rest of his life. The amputation slowed him down physically, making it harder to outrun law enforcement and limiting his mobility during many robberies. However, without his knowledge, his mother had successfully petitioned for his release, and he was set free 6 days after the intentional injury. Now, as a hardened and bitter criminal, his sister Mary said, quote, "Something awful sure must have happened to him in prison because he wasn't the same person when he got out," unquote. A fellow inmate said that he watched Clyde change from a schoolboy to a rattlesnake. Clyde was paroled from East Ham on February 2nd, 1932, at which point he immediately returned with Bonnie and resumed a life of crime. After their 2-year crime spree, on May 21st, 1934, the 4 posse members of Texas were in Shreveport, Louisiana, when they learned that Bonnie and Clyde were planning to visit an associate in Benville Parish. The full posse set up an ambush along Louisiana State Highway 154, south of Gibsland, towards Sales. On May the 23rd, 1934, the couple stopped at Canfield's Cafe, 2419 Main Street, Gibsland, Louisiana. Clyde walked into the cafe as Bonnie stayed in the car. He bought a fried bologna sandwich and a BLT to go. Then they headed down the road for their soon-to-be death in a stolen V8 Ford. According to one account, Bonnie died holding her half-eaten bologna sandwich with the BLT for Clyde still in the bag. At approximately 9:15 on May 23rd, the posse members were concealed in the bushes and almost ready to give up as they had waited for over 24 hours. That's when they heard a vehicle approaching at high speed. In the official report, they stated they had persuaded Clyde's associate to position his truck on the shoulder of the road in hopes that Clyde would stop and speak with him. As the vehicle got closer, it was sure the Ford V8 with Clyde at the wheel. He began to slow down as hoped. The police didn't waste any time. They opened fire while the vehicle was still moving. Clyde was shot in the head, dying instantly. It was reported they heard Bonnie scream. 112 bullet holes were in the vehicle, of which more than 30 had struck the couple. They were both killed within the car, which then crashed into a ditch. The official report by Parish Coroner J.L. Wade listed 17 entrant wounds on Clyde's body and 26 on Bonnie's. The officers fired over 130 rounds, emptying their guns. The gunfire was allegedly so loud that the police were temporarily deaf all afternoon. Officers inspected the vehicle and discovered stolen automatic rifles, sawed-off semi-automatic shotguns, assorted handguns, and several thousand rounds of ammunition, along with 15 sets of license plates from different states. Arriving at the scene, the coroner reported that the crowd was out of control and nearly everyone had begun collecting souvenirs such as shell casings, pieces of glass from the shattered car window, and bloody pieces of clothing from the garments of Bonnie and Clyde, and that one eager man had opened his pocket knife and reached into the car to cut off Clyde's left ear. Another man tried to cut off Clyde's trigger finger, while a woman cut off the bloody locks of Bonnie's hair and pieces from her dress, which were later sold as souvenirs. The reporter who photographed the corpse actually took Clyde's hand home. His wife refused to have it in their house, so he gave it to his brother. The brother then had it bronzed and used as a doorstop, which can only be seen at the Ambush Museum. The Bonnie and Clyde Ambush Museum is the centerpiece of tiny Gibsland, housed in the same building that used to be Canfield's Cafe, where the couple stopped for their last meal. The museum is small. However, it houses one-of-a-kind memorabilia. There's also a cafe in the back of the museum named Bonnie and Clyde Last Stop Cafe, where you can actually order a bologna sandwich or a BLT. Guests will pay a couple of dollars to enter the museum, but once inside, you'll find newspaper clippings, mementos, all dedicated to the duo, in addition to a replica of their death car, as the original car is located in Nevada. Displays of their personal effect, with some exhibits displaying gruesome aftermath of the ambush. Bonnie's actual fur coat and sweaters, Clyde's hat and shoes, and vintage firearms. Visitors can also watch a documentary film on the couple and their lives. Perry Carver is the owner of the Bonnie and Clyde Ambush Museum. His infatuation with Bonnie and Clyde started with the car. His grandparents in Georgia were friends with the man who owned the car Bonnie and Clyde were killed in. Carver recalls being allowed to play in the car and was given a shoebox full of shattered glass from the car's window and a door handle. Quote, "One day I'm sitting in the front seat and he walks out there with a little shoebox and a knife. He then cuts out a square of the front seat and gives it to me." Carver said, "It's got their blood on it." End quote. Also inside the Ambush Museum is a man-made grave for Bonnie and Clyde. You could spend hours just reading through all the different things. Letters to Clyde's mom from him. Attire that Clyde stole and gave to an old man who refused to use it but kept it as yet another memento. Ted Hinton's hat, the youngest of the posse that ambushed and killed Bonnie and Clyde. The public phone that was used by the deputies in Gibsland to tell the world that Bonnie and Clyde were dead. These items and many more artifacts are on display at the Bonnie and Clyde Ambush Museum. Content warning: some exhibits are graphic, including depictions of the couple's body after the ambush, which may be disturbing for some viewers, especially children. A lot of the stuff is just stuff. No real description of the items, just stuff. Like soaps and toiletries from the early 1900s. The owner seems nice, has stories to tell, not sure if they're true or not. A lot of dust, and when I say a lot, most of the items, especially the shelves and the counters, are covered in so much dust you could barely see through them. There is a gift shop. I was told everything was for sale. Most of it is dusty too. I got a key ring shaped like a bullet. I could have honestly got it off Amazon. And a spoon because it had Bonnie and Clyde's picture on it. I did receive it in a Bonnie and Clyde Ambush Museum bag. Note, not a reusable one. Some reviews I've read spoke about the smell of cigarettes and cat urine. Honestly, I didn't smell the urine. Maybe the cigarette smoke overpowered it. However, I can't deny it was a smell. I also do not agree with the cat just wandering around, as some people do have allergies. The cafe was closed when I went to visit, and I also do not eat pork. Around the corner from the Bonnie and Clyde Ambush Museum still stands the gas station that once was used to alarm the citizens of Bonnie and Clyde's death. Naturally, the site of their last moment survives as well, marked by a stone monument that has been regularly vandalized over the years. The couple were responsible for several deaths, and many believe nothing about them should be celebrated. Placed on the right side is a plaque of honor dedicated to the law officers that are responsible for the deaths of Bonnie and Clyde. In May, near the anniversary date of the duo's ambush, Gibsland holds an annual authentic Bonnie and Clyde festival. This draws visitors from around the world and includes reenactments of the fatal day on May 23rd, plus an antique car parade, a Bonnie and Clyde look-alike contest, and guest speakers. Driving Highway 154, I tried to picture that ride in the eyes of Bonnie and Clyde. The road seemed so long, nothing in sight, just an open road.
I can put you in my business. You might wish me dead tomorrow.